Good morning, everyone. How are we all today? Hope you're well. Just back from the hospital. Wonderful service for our NHS. Wonderful service. Wife had an appointment for 8. She was taken in promptly at 8:15. Had all her vitals done. Bloods taken. Prodded, probed. Sent back to the waiting room. 30 minutes later, bloods were back. Back seeing the doc. Another 5 minutes of being prodded and poked, and then 20-minute consultation, and out the door. Job done in 2 hours flat. Fantastic service. Just cannot rate them highly enough. Staff are phenomenally good as well. No something you hear in our press. But even during the pandemic, when they were telling us things were fucked up and ambulances were backed up all over the place, fortunately, thanks to our network, we had healthcare professionals that could give us the proper information. Then, of course, I went out and had a look, didn't I? So, as I say, no matter how they're undone, our NHS and our press, folks, don't believe a word there. Fantastic service. Wonderful service. Anyway, good morning, everyone. Let's see who's in. Liz, Jim, Ange, Gary, Akis, Lorraine, Rosie, Robert the Bruce, Kirsty Hamilton. Hi, Gillian. Rosalind. John Baxter. Jim Stevens. And I think I've already said hello to you. Graham Beanie. Stella McLennan. With Pet. William Watson. Dexter, how are you? Hi, Kirsty Folds. Hi, Anne. Hi, Mel. Who else we got? Scott. Wee Bird. Linda. Lorna Shields. Desiree. Stephen Bankier. Yeah, I think we're all just saying hello to each other. We'll scroll back anyway, in case we missed anybody. Hi, Eddie. Last Braveheart. George. I think I've got you on now. Good morning, Reagan White. Peter. Hi, Christina. Right up at the early ones now. The early birds. Right, anyway, let's get this underway, shall we? Indy Truck Davey out the truck, not home in his office. Just I almost came to the hospital car park this morning. Where it is a dank, miserable morning. We get wee bits of brightness here and there. It has been raining. Temperature at the moment is 10 degrees, and that will be the high for today, folks. 10 degrees. The wind speed, it's gusting from 37 to 60 kilometres an hour. So what's that? Roughly 29 to about 40, 41 mile an hour in all money. Hi, Chris. Anyway, humidity is at 87%. And the pollen count's no worth talking about. So that's the weather. Here in Salisbury, North Lanarkshire, you want to know what the weather's like where you are? Look out your rain, bloody windy. All right. First up this morning, we have the Looney Rag the Express, but it's not got the furthest, wackiest headline this morning, that I can assure you. What's the Looney Rag the Express got for us? Fresh call for public inquiry in Scotland as Romanian sex fiends sentenced. Grooming gang locked up for 68 years. Now, what does that headline tell me? Well, that headline tells me that we don't have any need for an inquiry. It tells me that the grooming squad here in Scotland's functioning properly because this gang was detected. Evidence was gathered. That's called the inquiry part. All right. And then these men were prosecuted. So, no, we don't need an inquiry. It would appear that the system's working fine. Right, let's get rid of the Looney Rag the Express. And next up we have the Telegraph. So let's get the Tory graph up, shall we? And the Tory graph has... This one's a fucking stormer, by the way. Council tax hike warning to Middle Scotland. Now, what does this say? It says the SNP overhaul of levy, meaning tax, council tax, could leave many households facing 3,000 jump in bill. Now, this rag is trying to claim that after a review, those in the new top band would be paying £6,500 a year. It would appear that these papers haven't been paying attention to what the SNP have been doing with tax. And sticking £3,000 on the top tier of council tax isn't going to be it at all. That I can assure you. These are nonsense, scaremongering, vote deterring headlines. Is there an election coming up? Fucking mental. Stick the council tax up for the highest bands by £3,000. No chance. Nobody's going to be levied £6,000 a year to live in their own land. There'll be a fucking revolt. Right, next up we have the other loony rag, the Daily Fail. And it's got SNP ready to clobber Scots with punishing home tax. Council bills could rise to £6,500 a year. Now what this rag's saying is that they're going to move from 6 bands to 16 bands. With the top band paying £6,500 a year. You never heard so much shite in all your life. The SNP's a progressive tax. The council tax is not a progressive tax. But apart from the fact that they froze it for a living in the last 15 years, there's absolutely no chance it's going up by £3,000. None. These are scaremongering, vote deterring headlines. And somebody ought to pull these fuckers up about it. There is no chance that anybody, and I mean anybody in the Scottish government, especially the SNP, are floating the notion of a fucking £3,000 type council tax hike. What a lot of pish. And apparently Fergie has nowhere to go and no one to go with. Friends tell me, who gives a fuck? Should have thought about that when they were hanging about with paedophiles and taking their money. Right, after the Daily Fail, we'll get the eye. What's the eye got for us this morning? Bigger tax hikes and spending cuts on way in crunch budget, Reeves signals. Now, folks, if you didn't know what the last two headlines were about, this is what it's about. We're about to get clobbered for Westminster, so they have to apportion some blame to the Scottish Government. But I can assure you, there won't be any £3,000 council tax hikes, but there certainly may be hikes in the personal rate of tax from Westminster. So expect a penny in the pound at least on your income tax. And I expect the fiscal drag will be lengthened as well. Right, after the eye we have the rancid. And what's the rancid got for us this morning? Well, the rancid tells us that the Celtic manager has quit and he's been replaced by Martin O'Neill, a previous Celtic manager, one which was just as successful as this man. All right, anyway, apparently Rodgers has quit. He's in an argument with the club and he's off ski. Not been the first time he's done that. We all assure cries at the inevitable tax. Taxes for Hughes and Wales, you're expecting hikes and all. Well, I'm expecting them for Rachel Reeves. I'm not expecting them for the Scottish Government. Although I do expect my tax to go up a wee bit because I'm not in the lowest bracket. But I don't expect those in the lowest bracket here in Scotland to have an income tax rise this year. I really don't. Hi, Dylan, how are you? Me well since we've seen your name pop in, young man. Right, next up, we got the Scotsman. And what's the Scotsman got for us this morning? The anti-Scottish Scotsman has some NHS services face acts amid sacrifice warning. Now, what's this all about, folks? Well, apparently the Scottish Government is about to spend a lot more money on what we call preventative medicines, which is basically just education to stop you from getting ill in the first place. But according to this rag, because they're about to invest a wee bit more in the budget on educating people on how to stay fit, that means there'll be cuts in other areas. Well, guess what? If they can successfully educate people to keep themselves fit, there'll not be as much money needed in other areas. But this is just a nonsense headline as well. So apparently, because the Scottish Government wants to put emphasis on preventing people getting ill in the first place, that's going to lead to cuts elsewhere, according to this fucking rag. You never so much shite in all your life. And preventative medicine is where it's at. Start teaching the children in primary school how to look after themselves. What good nutrition is, what good exercise is, what a decent work-life balance is, how to budget. All these things should be part of early learning. Right, then comes the Scotsman. Next up, we've got his sister paper, the Herald. What nonsense has the Herald got for us this morning? Well, we're motoring through this today, folks. The Herald has just one job for every 1 million generated by wind industry. Now, folks, if you remember right, David and I were telling you about this. There's only jobs in the construction stage. After that, a handful of people can run 30, 40, 50 turbines. Simple as that. So all this nonsense about the Green Revolution creating thousands and hundreds of thousands of new jobs, it's nonsense. We've explained that to you. By the way, a 30 turbine wind farm, you can knock it up between 12 and 28 weeks. You got one in the hundreds, then you're talking about a year of a project, maybe a year and a half. And I've worked on these projects, folks. They go up fast. They go up real fast. But there's not that many people work on them. You've got the ground clear and the digging of the hole. You've got the steel erectors. Then you've got the concrete mixers come in and drop the feet, meaning the big plinth that sits on, and then the tower goes up and the turbine's put on top. Not a lot of people involved in the job at all, folks. None. So this nonsense about hundreds of thousands of jobs, it was always nonsense. And that's why David and I have pointed it out. And now it would appear the mainstream media has decided to point it out as well. Okay. As I say, but David and I have already explained this to you. There's not a lot of people involved in building a wind farm. And once they're up, there's not a lot of people involved in running one. MD that believes what the media says now about how Scotland is governed needs a kick up the arches. Vote SNP independence. Let's get it done. Well said, John. And thanks very much for your kind donation, John. You're a generous man. Right, so let's get the Herald done. For once, the Herald's actually telling the fucking truth. There isn't hundreds of thousands of long-term skilled jobs and renewables. So done with the Herald. Next up, we've got the Times. And what's the Times got for us this morning? And the Times has Times has small boats migrants to be housed in barracks. Well, you know, there must be plenty of fucking empty ones lying about. Because you go back to the 80s when I was in the military, there was 200,000 plus regular soldiers. Now there's only 72. It's an awful lot of empty barracks. But I'll tell you what, no many of them will be fit for habitation. So concentration camps for small boat arrivals. That's what that says. Outrageous. Right, after the Times, we've got the Scum. And Scum has Prince 2-pad exclusive. Well, it's not an exclusive. We spoke about it yesterday. And that is after Harry spent 2.4 million on Frogmore Cottage. Now workmen go in to prepare it for shamed Andy. So there you have it, folks. Frogmore's being prepared wherever the fuck Frogmore Cottage is. I think it's also in Windsor. Different culture, different values. That's very true, Stephen. Thank you very much. So apparently Randy Andy is getting Frogmore Cottage done up so that he can move in there rent-free. But the pedo prince has only made it onto one paper a day so far. I guess they're letting up on him. Right, what's the national vote for today? And the national has lift for SNP's Holyrood majority hopes. And this is this poll I was showing you yesterday, folks, from Stats for Lefties, that says that the SNP are on course for 66 seats. If it is, good news. If no, Greens, be prepared to lend a few MSPs until the job's done. All right, after the National, we have the Guardian. What nonsense it got for us this morning? Well, I can assure you one thing, it'll be an England-only fucking story, probably. And the Guardian has ministers warned not to scapegoat prison staff over sex offender case. Now, this one's quite interesting. Prison guards suspended over Hadush Kebatu's mistaken release from prison. Now, Charlie Taylor down that road, the Chief Inspector of Prisons in England, says the suspension is unfair, as it wasn't the guy who did the releasing's fault, it was the system that ordered his release that was at fault. And I have to agree there. Why would this individual prison guard be getting suspended when the order came from on high to release the fella? Jesus Christ. So apparently an individual prison warden in England is being scapegoated for a system-wide mistake. Wow. How pathetic. Absolutely outrageous behaviour. Scapegoat a single prison officer or a system-wide mistake. You couldn't make that up. You really couldn't. And next up, we have a Metro. And the Metro has NHS printed me a new face. This fella, he's 75-year-old, by the way, him and two of his old buddies were out on a bike ride when a car ploughed into them. His two buddies were thrown clear. He went under the car and got dragged. He got burnt up one side and half his face was taken off along a tarmac. So he had some really horrific injuries, but apparently the face you see in the front page of the paper there was 3D printed for him by the NHS. So they took some cells from elsewhere in his body, multiplied them into new skin for his face. Amazing what they can do these days, isn't it? But an NHS good story, folks. That's two so far the day. That doesn't happen often. That doesn't happen often at all. Right, we've motored through this today. So young Reagan Elite maybe actually get to kick his programme off at 11 o'clock sharp. Because we really have motored through this today. Now, folks, the notion that there's going to be a $3,000 hike in council tax is fucking ridiculously stupid. As I say, paper number 4, the I explains why the shills of papers were spouting this bullshit. It's because Reeves apparently is about to hammer us all with a tax rise, or 2 or 3. My money's owner going after the private pensions and equities. My money's owner going after the disabled, and a hike in income tax. And that will give you a wee bit of wiggle room to maybe ditch the two-child cap on benefits. But I'm willing to pay an extra penny in a pound if children get to eat. But as I say, it doesn't apply to us, does it? When it comes to income tax, it's a devolved issue. We have our own income tax system. We'll just need to wait to January to see what's happening. Okay, but the notion that there's going to be a rejig of the council tax to where there are 16 bands and the highest band will be paying $6,500 a year, fucking heard it. Absolutely heard it. And I say, wonderful service, the NHS. Sarah was in and out, having been prodded, poked, blood's drawn, the whole lot in less than 2 hours. You can't beat it. You check Kelly off, read the polls. He's got the programme out, Kevin. I watched it this morning. Before I went to the hospital. Your wife says, my wife says my face print would be double-sided for your two faces. If I was you, I would duck out the road of that one, Graham. Right, as I say, go with the one to get back here to be in time to put this out, and I seem to have run through them. There doesn't seem to be much in the press today, to be fair. Now, Maria MG, yep, that's absolutely correct. MB, sorry. I seen that report on Scottish Government to look at scrapping council tax, a survey being launched. Aye. And apparently 71% of people would favour something different to the council tax, but nobody's ever tell them what it would be. Right, last up we have the Star. And we don't go. Xmas footy Grinch shocker. Boxing Day footy red card. Just one Prem game, December 26th. So apparently, footballers are getting Christmas off for a change. Good on them. Huh? But apparently the masses are not happy that footballers are having Boxing Day off the same as the rest of us. Now, footballers, enjoy your Boxing Day. The rest of the day, and really, we don't need the fitty to interrupt with the relaxation after the hectic day that is Christmas Day. Anyway, that reminds me, folks, there will be a Christmas Day special as usual. I'll announce a wee bit nearer the time what time we'll go live at, but there will be a Christmas Day special. So if you live alone and you're not likely to have any visitors that day, then I think last time when we were on air for about 12, 1 o'clock, all the way to 5, 6 o'clock in the evening. So we'll just open it up Christmas Day some point, probably between 12 and 1, and then we'll just run for a wee while, so that nobody has to be alone on Christmas Day. Okay. So, as I say, apparently there's not going to be any football on Boxing Day. So it would appear that the football players are getting Boxing Day off. Good on them. Right. Still nae boffins, but I blame Michael Gove for nae boffins. You know, he said we don't need experts anymore. And the English people seem to have bought that. Don't know why. Well, I do know why. They've been charging for higher education for the best part of a quarter of a fucking century, so the daft bastards have dumbed down their population. Well, what can you say? And they wonder why your economy is doing better than theirs. Well, the answer is quite simple, folks. If I'm setting up a business, I'm going somewhere where there is a happy, healthy, well-educated population. At this point in time, with 1 in 3 children in poverty, England ain't it. Okie dokie. That's it for a day. We'll get out the road and let young Reagan Elite get set up and let him go live on 11 o'clock for a change rather than a few minutes past. So, back tomorrow morning with the other Davey, where he'll be playing the guy in the supermarket who's scanning the news shelves and hasn't got a Scooby with the headlines up. Okay, see you then. Look after each other. Thank you all very much for your kind contributions. Could you please hit the like button on the way out the door? It helps the algorithm. And it's up to yourself whether you share or not. You guys look after each other.